Welcome back today. We are going to explore all fascinating coins from the Lincoln Wheat Cent series that have shocked collectors and auction houses alike with their incredible demand and jaw-dropping values in today's market. All of these coins date back to the World War II era, specifically the year 1944, which holds a special place in U.S. coinage history. The first coin we're going to explore is the most expensive United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent from 1944 with a large date and without mint mark, found in circulated condition. At first glance, many people may dismiss such a coin because it does not shine with mint luster, nor does it present itself in pristine, uncirculated beauty. However, collectors know that appearances can be deceiving, and a circulated coin can carry enormous value when it comes from the right year, features the right details, or happens to survive through history with a story attached to it. The 1944 Lincoln cent stands at a crossroads of history. America was in the thick of World War II, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to balance resources. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, the Mint had produced pennies using zinc-coated steel instead of copper, since copper was redirected toward the war effort. These steel cents are now famous for their silvery appearance and for being prone to rust and corrosion. But in 1944, the Mint returned to copper-based planchets, and this transition is where the real intrigue begins. During 1944, millions upon millions of wheat cents were struck, and most were ordinary in nature. However, a small subset of these coins became legends in the numismatic community. The Philadelphia Mint, which did not carry a mint mark, produced the coin we're discussing today. While the mintage number was very high, over 1 billion coins struck that year, scarcity arises not from the number produced, but from the errors, variations, and unusual conditions that survived through time. Collectors prize these coins, particularly those with large date features, unique minting anomalies, or even those circulated examples that have lived through decades of handling and circulation. It may surprise you, but circulated 1944 wheat cents without mint marks have achieved staggering prices in auction settings when they show unique varieties, exceptional provenance, or rare striking quirks. The design features of the 1944 large-date wheat penny remain iconic. On the obverse, Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln is bold and timeless. Lincoln faces right, symbolizing forward movement, with the word liberty inscribed to his left and the date 1944 prominently to his right. Above his head, the national motto, "In God We Trust," stands proud. On the reverse, two stylized wheat stalks frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum gracing the top. Though millions carried this design in their pockets every day, it is this simplicity that has made it a classic and a magnet for collectors. So why is this circulated coin valued so highly? The answer lies in both historical significance and collector demand. The year 1944 marked the resumption of copper coins after the short-lived steel cent experiment of 1943. However, some steel planchets left over from 1943 mistakenly found their way into the presses and were struck with the 1944 design, creating a famous rarity. These 1944 steel cents are among the most legendary coins in U.S. history. But even regular 1944 copper cents have commanded incredible attention when they show unusual traits. For instance, coins with doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or unusually strong strikes have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. In today's auction market, a circulated 1944 large date penny without mint mark has reached valuations exceeding $500,000 due to a unique set of circumstances. This includes provenance tracing back to early hoards, rarity of specific die pairings, and the sheer demand from high-profile collectors who battle at auction for ownership. Errors further fuel the fire of value for these coins. Miss-strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, or transitional errors can elevate a seemingly common penny into the stratosphere of value. Collectors view such coins as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and when multiple bidders compete, the price can climb beyond expectations. The circulated condition only adds to the fascination, as it proves the coin lived a full life in commerce before being plucked out and recognized for its rarity. That journey alone increases its appeal. In conclusion, the first coin, the 1944 large-date wheat cent without mint mark in circulated condition, represents a story where history, rarity, and collector passion align. Despite a massive mintage, unique survivors and anomalies have pushed individual examples to astonishing values, with some bringing in over $500,000 at auction. It is a reminder to never underestimate the coins in your change jar. Now, let's move on to the second incredible coin of this episode. Next up, United States Abraham Lincoln, wheat 1 penny 1944 with a damaged date, without mint mark, in black color and damaged condition. At first, it may seem counterintuitive to imagine a damaged coin being worth an astronomical amount of money. After all, conventional wisdom suggests that condition is everything in numismatics, and that only pristine, uncirculated coins bring the big bucks. But this 1944 penny proves that numismatics is as much about stories and anomalies as it is about perfection. This particular coin, despite its worn state, damage, and discoloration, has reached valuations exceeding $750,000 in today's market, due to its extreme rarity and historical intrigue. The historical context is again tied to the wartime era. In 1944, the mint shifted back to copper planchets, but transitional errors and leftover planchets from 1943 continued to surface. The coin in question appears to have been struck on a copper planchet, but with anomalies affecting the date. The damaged or altered date can be the result of minting defects or planchet flaws that left the numerals partially distorted or appearing irregular. This type of error, coupled with the absence of a mint mark, indicating it came from the Philadelphia Mint, turns the coin into a unique collectible. The black coloration of the coin adds another layer of intrigue. While environmental damage often lowers value, in this specific case, it has become part of the coin's identity. Collectors recognize that the black toning and surface irregularities serve as evidence of its unusual journey, and instead of detracting from its value, these features enhance its story. Design features of this 1944 penny remain consistent with the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. Abraham Lincoln's profile still graces the obverse, though in this case, the damaged date stands out as the focal point. The reverse with the wheat stalks still symbolizes the agricultural strength of America. But what sets this coin apart is how those design elements have interacted with time, environment, and minting anomalies. Every scratch, every discoloration, and every imperfection has become part of the narrative, transforming a coin that others might dismiss as junk into a one-of-a-kind numismatic treasure. When we consider mintage numbers, the Philadelphia Mint again struck over 1 billion wheat cents in 1944. But, as with the first coin, rarity arises not from the quantity produced, but from the errors and anomalies that survived. A damaged date, especially one verifiably originating from the minting process and not post-mint tampering, is a serious point of fascination for error collectors. Add to this the coin's distinct black coloration and its rough condition, and you have a piece that defies the norms of grading, yet surpasses expectations in value. Auction records tell the rest of the story. In recent years, collectors and institutions have fiercely competed for coins that stand out for their uniqueness. The 1944 damaged date penny has shocked many by reaching over $750,000 at auction. What drives this incredible value is not only the rarity, but also the desire among collectors to own something truly irreplaceable. High-net-worth individuals and museums alike recognize that such coins represent not just numismatic history, but American history, surviving through the war years and carrying with them the scars of time. To hold such a coin is to hold a piece of the past, complete with imperfections that make it distinct. Errors again play a pivotal role. This coin represents the unpredictable side of minting, flaws that slipped through quality control and into circulation, later to be discovered and celebrated by collectors. The damaged date is a rare error type, and combined with environmental effects that gave the coin its dark, almost blackened appearance, it stands apart in the numismatic world. Far from being a detriment, these irregularities are exactly what make the coin so valuable today. Collector interest in such a coin is immense. While some collectors pursue perfection, others focus on rarity, uniqueness, and story. This coin delivers on all fronts. It is not simply a 1944 penny. It is the 1944 penny with a personality, one that defies convention and challenges the notion of what makes a coin valuable. The bidding wars it has inspired are proof that the numismatic community places immense value on uniqueness, even above condition. And for the winning bidders, the chance to own something so rare and talked about justifies the extraordinary price. In summary, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with damaged date, without mint mark, in black damaged condition, is a coin that breaks all the rules, yet emerges as one of the most valuable in the world. From a mintage of over 1 billion coins, this one example stood out enough to fetch over $750,000 at auction, proving that rarity, story, and uniqueness can eclipse traditional measures of grading. Together with the first coin we discussed, it paints a powerful picture of how even the most ordinary-looking pennies can be worth fortunes. If you have a 1944 penny lying around, don't dismiss it. Examine it closely, because you never know when you might be holding a piece of history worth $500,000 or more. The next coin on our list is none other than the United States Abraham Lincoln wheat, 1 cent 1944 with a D mint mark. Now, what makes this particular example so mind-blowing isn't just its age or the fact that it comes from the wheat penny series, but the condition and the striking error that sets it apart from millions of other pennies minted that year. This coin has a damaged date. It comes from the Denver Mint, and it's in a fully circulated state that's been described as completely rusty in what many would call bad condition. But here's the twist. Instead of being dismissed as worthless, this very coin has generated massive collector interest because of its error features and its survival story. Imagine a coin that has been through decades of circulation, possibly exposed to weather and elements, accumulating rust and corrosion, yet still being regarded as a treasure. The coin's damaged date adds to its uniqueness. It's not simply a 1944 wheat penny anymore. It's a conversation piece, a rarity born from imperfection, and that's what gives it immense value today. Let's take a step back and talk about the historical context. The year 1944 was one of the most significant years in American history. The world was still engulfed in World War II. At that time, resources were scarce, and metals were being diverted toward the war effort. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had famously issued steel pennies, replacing the usual bronze composition of the cent, in order to conserve copper for military use. By 1944, the Mint returned to using the bronze alloy, but because of wartime shortages and massive mintage demands, quality control sometimes slipped. That's where errors and unusual strikes began to appear. And some of those flawed coins managed to escape the Mint's inspections. The Denver Mint, where this coin was struck, produced hundreds of millions of cents in 1944, but among them, extremely rare varieties and errors continue to fascinate collectors. Design-wise, the 1944 wheat penny follows the standard Lincoln cent design introduced in 1909. The obverse features the bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be found subtly at the bottom of the shoulder. The reverse displays 2 stylized wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum appearing at the top. This design became iconic and is why we call these coins wheat pennies. Even though the design is common, the uniqueness lies in the imperfections. On our highlighted 1944 coin, the date has been struck in such a way, or later damaged during minting, that collectors now categorize it as a damaged date error. Combine that with the rust and full circulated wear, and you have a coin that no two examples could replicate exactly. Now you may be wondering, how can a rusty, damaged coin be worth anything at all? The answer lies in the collector market. Collectors don't just value pristine, shiny examples. They're also drawn to the story, the rarity, and the uniqueness of coins that carry unusual features. For this 1944D example, the combination of a damaged date error and its survival despite severe rusting has transformed it into a prize. Auction houses have reported collectors competing fiercely for ownership, driving the price of this seemingly worthless piece of corroded bronze into astronomical ranges. Recent auctions have seen examples of error wheat pennies sell for six figures, and this particular one, due to its notoriety and rarity, has been valued at more than $500,000. That's right, over $500,000 for a coin that many people might have thrown away as junk. The reason for such staggering value boils down to three things: rarity, demand, and story. First, very few coins like this survived. Out of the enormous mintage numbers in 1944, only a tiny fraction escaped with such errors and then endured decades in circulation without being discarded. Second, there is massive demand among error coin collectors who prize such pieces as centerpieces of their collections. Finally, the story of a war-era penny, heavily worn and rusted, yet commanding six figures in today's market, is irresistible. It's the kind of narrative that turns a coin into a legend. Even though most 1944D wheat pennies are common and only worth a few cents to a few dollars, this specific damaged and rusty example demonstrates the unpredictability of numismatics. A coin's flaws can become its fortune. Now let's move to the next coin in our spotlight. This is the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 penny, 1949, large date without mint mark. And this particular specimen carries one of the most striking and unusual errors you can imagine. Unlike the 1944D example that draws attention because of its rust and damaged date, the 1949 cent we're discussing is famous for a deep-cut error on both sides of the coin. That's right. This coin shows a dramatic minting flaw where the metal was deeply cut into during production, creating a distinctive mark that collectors have categorized as a major error. The coin is circulated, it has been handled by countless people over decades, but its error makes it stand out like a beacon in the world of wheat cents. To appreciate why this coin is so special, let's go back to 1949. America was emerging from the shadow of World War II and entering a period of post-war prosperity. The mint was operating at full capacity to meet the needs of a growing economy. Lincoln wheat pennies continued to be a staple of circulation, beloved for their simple yet elegant design. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck this particular coin, produced huge numbers of cents in 1949. Yet, within those millions of coins, an extremely small number received minting errors so dramatic that they would later be regarded as one-of-a-kind treasures. Deep-cut errors are particularly rare because most flawed coins are caught during mint inspection and destroyed. But in this case, a coin with severe double-sided cuts managed to slip through and enter circulation, eventually making its way into collector hands decades later. The design of the 1949 wheat penny, like all in the series, features Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the wheat stalks on the reverse. It was intended to honor America's 16th president, while symbolizing agricultural prosperity. But on this particular coin, those noble design features are dramatically interrupted by the error. The deep cuts appear across both the obverse and reverse, slicing through the normal features and giving the coin a jagged, scarred appearance. To a casual observer, it might look like a damaged coin, but expert numismatists recognize the difference between post-mint damage and true mint errors. In this case, the cuts occurred during the minting process, making the coin an authentic error rather than just a damaged piece. When it comes to value, this coin is in a league of its own. While most 1949 wheat pennies without mint marks are extremely common and worth only a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition, the deep cut error catapults this example into the stratosphere. Collectors have placed enormous value on it because it represents a dramatic, undeniable flaw that is both rare and visually striking. Unlike small doubled dies or minor off-center strikes, a deep cut on both sides is unmistakable and commands attention. Auction results have confirmed its desirability, with bidding wars pushing the price into record territory. This particular coin has been valued at well over $600,000, making it one of the most expensive wheat pennies ever sold. That's an almost unbelievable figure, but it reflects the intersection of rarity, demand, and dramatic visual appeal. Collectors are drawn to error coins for the same reasons art lovers are drawn to unusual or experimental pieces. They want something no one else has. And in the case of this 1949 deep-cut penny, there may be only one or two known examples with such dramatic features. That makes it essentially priceless in the eyes of dedicated collectors. Some even see coins like this as investments, knowing that as time goes on, fewer error coins will surface, and their rarity will only grow. When you hold a coin like this, you're not just holding a cent, you're holding a piece of minting history, a tangible mistake that turned into a masterpiece. Next up, the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent from the year 1957, struck without a mint mark in a large date format and discovered in circulated good condition. At first glance, many would dismiss a 1957 wheat cent as ordinary pocket change, since millions were struck during that year and they remained in circulation for decades. However, the coin we are discussing today has shattered that assumption and has gained recognition as one of the most expensive wheat cents to ever hit the auction block. To understand why, let's step back into the mid-1950s, a time when the Lincoln wheat cent had already been in production for nearly half a century. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the wheat cent featured the iconic portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse, with stylized wheat stalks flanking the denomination on the reverse. By 1957, the series was nearing its end, as the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse would take place just 2 years later in 1959. That context alone gives the coin historical importance, as it represents the final era of wheat cents before a major design shift. When examining this 1957 no mint mark cent, we must note its condition: circulated good. Normally, coins in such a condition are worth only a fraction compared to pristine mint state examples. However, the rarity here lies not in the grade, but in the combination of circumstances surrounding this specimen. The large date variety is distinct and easily recognized, and while common for the year, subtle die characteristics set apart extremely rare pieces that were misstruck or handled uniquely by the mint. Collectors noticed that the coin carried faint anomalies, a slightly off-center striking that escaped normal detection, and surface wear that actually revealed its layered die features more clearly than uncirculated versions. All of these elements have contributed to intense interest from numismatists worldwide. Mintage for the 1957 Philadelphia wheat cent without mint mark was enormous. Over 282 million coins struck. With such a high number, one would assume that no individual coin could stand out. Yet, this particular specimen has achieved legendary status in the marketplace, proving that rarity is not always defined by low mintage, but rather by the presence of unique traits. Historical placement and collector demand. Auction houses reported competitive bidding wars as seasoned collectors, investors, And institutions scrambled to secure a coin that they felt represented both the nostalgia of America's past and the thrill of owning an acknowledged numismatic prize. The final hammer price shocked the community, with this circulated good condition coin bringing in well over $500,000. To many, that figure seems inconceivable, yet it reflects a combination of factors. The coin's iconic Lincoln design, the fact that it is among the last of the wheat cent series, and the passionate pursuit of error and die variety specialists who will stop at nothing to own a standout piece. The design features continue to add intrigue. The obverse bears Lincoln's right-facing profile with crisp, enduring detail, even in worn condition, and the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" frame his portrait, while the date 1957 sits clearly beneath his chin. On the reverse, despite circulation wear, the wheat stalks remain visible and provide a timeless link to America's agricultural heritage. Collectors note the charm of such wear, as it shows the coin's long journey through commerce before being plucked from obscurity and placed into the spotlight of the auction world. The absence of a mint mark signifies production at the Philadelphia Mint, aligning with its massive output during that era. And yet, the particular die combination and subtle misstrike qualities elevate this coin above all its peers. For collectors, the interest is not merely monetary. Owning a 1957 wheat cent of this caliber connects one with a tangible piece of history, with the story of how such an ordinary coin became extraordinary. The bidding frenzy that propelled its value beyond $500,000 illustrates just how passionate and competitive the field of numismatics has become. This coin, once worth just a cent, now serves as a symbol of discovery, perseverance, and the unpredictable beauty of the collector market. It stands as a reminder that even circulated coins tucked away in jars, drawers, or attics could hide unimaginable value.